initial concept behind this channel was to try and provide information to the general public regarding the United States Constitution and its meaning to the average citizen in America. Along the way, I have also touched base on several topics that seemed current at the time, but the core foundation of my initial mission has not changed. The American people are, by and large, ill-informed or just plain flat-out lied to by the people we elect to represent us, and by many who have chosen to enlist to protect and defend the Constitution. Examples of this behavior are not, as many elected officials would have you believe, the exception, but rather the rule. Whether it is the funding for decades-long wars that produce no meaningful outcome other than the increase in spending for newer and better war toys for the guys and gals in green, who are nothing more than chessboard fodder for the war producers, or the ongoing debt that the purse holders have no intention of corralling or even curbing, we have to ask this question: why do we elect people like this? People that are well beyond the purposeful fulfillment of the positions they hold. Take, for example, Nancy Pelosi of California. This member of Congress has done nothing of meaningful significance over the course of her long congressional career to assist the people she is sworn to serve. Her husband, on the other hand, has been able to reap the benefits of her insider information that she has gained from the various committees she has served on, to the tune of tens of millions of dollars.
And former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband have participated in at least 8 IPOs. Pelosi's purchased 5,000 shares of Visa at the initial price of $44. 2 days later, it was trading at $64.
Or Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, another example of wasted space in a padded leather chair. He and his wife have raped the coffers of the good people of Kentucky for over 2 decades. And as most people in Kentucky already know, they know a thing or two about horses, especially when one of them needs to be put out to pasture. Mitch McConnell is well beyond the out to pasture date, and how the voters in that state, actually Commonwealth, how they do not recognize that fact is truly beyond me. These are but 2 small examples of a much broader and larger picture that is alarmingly unhinged from reality. Many courageous people, fellow creators, and journalists alike have brought forth a multitude of facts to the American people. Whether it is the unlawful conduct of the average cop on the beat, or the unconstitutional surveillance by one of the alphabet agencies of every citizen in America. None of this type of conduct could be permissible if not for the lackadaisical manner with which the average citizen carries out their daily life. People will use excuses like, "I'm too busy to deal with that." That sort of thing is left to others. You have nothing to fear if you have nothing to hide. Or there would be no problem if you just comply. All of these comments are small examples of how the powers that be become not the elephant in the room, but rather the tyrant in your life. We have been complacent and not done our own due diligence to ensure that the people we bestow power to are capable of using that power in our own best interest. We have instances of cops shooting and killing unarmed citizens in the back as they run in fear from the police. And the police will later say that they were in fear for their safety. If you are in fact scared of somebody that is running away from you, you are clearly in the wrong line of work. I think Super Chicken said it best.
You knew the job was dangerous when you took it, Fred.
Police departments all across this country have become like some paramilitary outfit with tactical gear meant for the battlefield, not the average neighborhood. And much of this has become a reality as a result of the people that are elected to public office.
Tanks, combat gear, assault rifles. Police departments in the St. Louis area, like those across the country, are arming their officers with equipment once on the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan, much of it free of charge from the Pentagon or bought with grant money from Congress.
Governments of all stripes lie to the general public. Small-town governments might only tell small little white lies, whereas the further up the food chain you go, the lies get bigger and bolder, and in most instances enrich those that are telling the lies. Dwight Eisenhower attempted to tell the American people about this unwanted influence way back in the 1950s, but no one seemed to listen to him.
Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy tried to rein in the establishments that would do all of us harm, and they blew his head off in broad daylight. Yet, the spin doctors and the storytellers keep on spinning the narrative and telling whatever story is convenient for the moment to pacify the masses, because they know that for most all Americans, their memories are quite short, and whatever current issue is at hand will change with the next news cycle. The American government has got to have a boogeyman so they can justify the outlandish expenditures they dole out to the various agencies. This sort of practice began a very long time ago with the British and the original inhabitants of this continent, and for quite a while it was the communists. Then along came the terrorists, and we spent the better part of 30 years chasing them around, only to turn tail and run, leaving all of our equipment behind for the boogeyman to use against his own people.
Courtesy of Uncle Sam, American-supplied armor, now riding under Taliban colors. The spoils of victory being paraded by the new masters of Kandahar, an extraordinary sight in the city where their movement began.
The elected officials that hold the purse strings have spent trillions of dollars sending our brave men and women into harm's way and setting up the infrastructure and gadgets to spy on each and every one of us. And for what? We are no safer today than we were in the deepest depths of the Cold War. And in many ways, we are not as safe because we have given away so many of our liberties to the power brokers. And these power brokers have elected pawns in place to do their bidding. And we, the American people, elected these pawns that they coerce and bribe to bring forth policy that further stifle the rights of every single one of us. In the coldest days of the Cold War, any average citizen did not have to worry about some faction of the government kicking in his or her door without warrant because someone didn't like something that was posted on some social media platform. People disagreed, sometimes quite drastically, but they didn't walk into public places with guns and blast away at passersby for what seems to be no apparent reasons. They had strong opinions, but didn't feel the need to cause an uprising in an attempt to overthrow the government itself. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button.